And there's Maddie.
Says I'm a helper.
Well, thank you guys for joining the garden talk. And we are going to just spend a couple minutes here, and then I'm going to take you into the garden, which actually looks like a jungle right now. But to show you how we get our beds prepped and get the tomatoes actually in the ground. And then you can ask questions about anything that's going on in there that maybe doesn't make sense. But I always want to remember to start by saying who we are for those who don't know, and we're trying to be more direct in that. That's why we've got the laptop in there. If you go up to the laptop, you can watch all the pictures of the kids that are in sessions. But this plant sale is our biggest fundraiser for our ranch, Mercy Spring Ranch, which is a 501c3 nonprofit, and we use horses and other ranch activities to help children who've experienced trauma. And so our kids are here during the week. The parents and guardians have to jump through a lot of hoops to get them into the program. And then when they're here, they come for sessions for 90 minutes. And they do a 30-minute ranch chore and then 60 minutes of whatever ranch activity that they want to do while they're here. And those kids are on a rotation for 2 months, and then we open it up for the next group of kiddos to get in. And so we start in April, we end at the end of October, and then for 5 months when it's raining and cold and it gets dark at 5 o'clock, we're closed for sessions, and then we start back up in the spring. So we just started week before last. And the April sale is always a little bit more hectic because number one, we have more plants, but number two, we've already started sessions. So our kiddos were actually here last night and we've been setting up for 3 days, trying to have everything ready before our sessions start so that we're out doing sessions with them. And so it's been kind of fun this year watching kids come and they're like, what is all this stuff out here for? And we're like, well, we've got something going on. That is what we do, and we love what we do, but you buying plants from us helps us to keep doing it. So thank you very much. At the March garden talk, one of the things I did that someone said, are you going to do that again? And it would take way too long to do all of this, but giving examples of tomatoes that people may not know about, that we happen to know are phenomenal tomatoes, and letting you know some of those that are available. So I'm gonna just do like 1 or 2 of examples, and then if you got a tomato that you're like, I want to know about this one, throw it at me and I will see how good my brain is to try to remember. And I usually can, because we've been growing them for several years, but you can stump me on some of the newer ones if we haven't grown them multiple times. So the one that I had in my head coming out here is probably one of the more surprising tomatoes that we found out about at the National Heirloom Expo probably 5 years ago. I was at the Baker Creek seed vendor, and this lady walks up and she grabs a tomato packet and she says, oh, this is my favorite. I grow it every year. And mind you, I've grown thousands of heirlooms varieties, and I had never heard of this tomato before. And so I'm like, well, this lady's like saying it's her favorite. I've got to try it. So it's called Golden King of Siberia. And brought it home, thought it's probably going to be a really stinky tomato, and it is in my top 10 now. It is a ox heart variety, meaning that it's really wide at the top and it gets small at the bottom. And ox hearts are great because they are super meaty with very tiny seed chambers. And so it's like eating a beefsteak, but just even meatier than a beefsteak. And it's yellow, obviously, Golden King. And the tomatoes are about this big around at the top, and then they taper down. They're about, going down like this, so they're shaped like a heart. So I love Golden King of Siberia. And then so we test 6 to 8 new varieties every year. And one of the ones that totally freaked us out a couple years ago, it's called Brunette. The tomatoes easily got to 2 pounds. And we got some of them 2.5, close to 2 3/4 pounds. Never seen tomatoes that big that produce that many. Usually if you have ones that get that big, you'll get like 6 tomatoes off of them. And if you weighed them, they probably give you as much fruit as a cherry tomato does weight wise. But this guy, like, it was phenomenal how much fruit it was setting on it and how big they were all season long. And it's a big red tomato. They're about this big around, and a little misshapen at the top, but not like super funky, and just a fantastic flavor on them. So that's Burnett. So is there one you want to know about?
Clint Eastwood Red.
Clint Eastwood.
That's the bomb.
It's the bomb. Clint Eastwood's Rowdy Red is our #1 seller. Lollipop is close behind it.
Puts out tons of tomatoes. They're really good. They're about yay big. That plant is, everybody loves it because it puts out so many tomatoes.
Yeah,
Where
we
did
use.
the name come from?
Do what?
It's Clint
Oh,
Eastwood Rowdy
okay.
Red.
So the original name. So the funny thing about heirlooms is that when you have an heirloom or open pollinated tomato, anybody can name it anything they want.
Oh.
And so if somebody, like if I said I would like Clint Eastwood, I want to name it Miss Mo's Tomato, I can start marketing it as Miss Mo's Tomato, and there's no way to connect, like there's no copyrights or anything
Do you
like
know
that.
anything about Clint Eastwood's early career? One of his first main characters is he played Rowdy Yates in Rawhide. That's why it's called Rowdy
That's
Red.
what,
But actually, the reason it's called Clint Eastwood's Rowdy Red is, Clint Eastwood was the mayor of Carmel.
Yeah.
Well, the gentleman who started Tomato Fest was friends with Clint Eastwood. And Tomato Fest, he had over 600 varieties of heirlooms that he grew and sold the seeds for, which he still does. But he had the name Tomato Fest was this giant festival in Carmel where they were $100 a ticket. Everybody got dressed up fancy. All of these chefs came and did a sample dish that had heirloom tomatoes in it. And you got to go around and taste everybody's, and it was a contest. But then there were tons of wineries there, so it was a wine tasting, and then they had this big center with all of the varieties that they grew to do a tomato tasting, and they're the ones that we got the idea of a tomato tasting from. But they would have 500 to 600 varieties of tomatoes to taste, and there's no way you could taste them all. Like you just jumped into the line wherever, ate, tasted a couple of them, made some notes, and then jumped out of the line and went and had some wine and went and had, some samples of the different chefs that were there. The last year they held it, they had a contest for like write an essay and we'll give you free tickets, and we won. I wrote an essay about heirlooms and we won the tickets. So the very last year they held it, we got to go to it. It was way too fancy for.
It was pretty swanky.
It was pretty swanky. We were the hicks.
Carmel is.
We
Who
were
are
for
those
sure the
rednecks?
hicks in the group of very fancy, but
So where does it happen?
it's no
It doesn't
longer
happen
happens.
anymore.
Oh, it
Used to
Yeah,
happen in Carmel.
it was like
Last
probably
one.
12, 15 years
No,
ago.
it was
the last
yeah,
I
it was
like yours.
long time ago.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So,
Thank
but
you.
anyway, because he was friends with Clint Eastwood, and at the time Clint Eastwood was the mayor of Carmel, and the Tomato Fest was being held in Carmel, he asked him, pick a tomato and I'll name it after you.
Oh, okay.
And he said, well, I really like Rowdy Red and it fits my character from
Oh,
this
I
movie.
see.
And he goes, all right, Clint Eastwood's Rowdy Red.
That's it.
So that's why it's called Clint Eastwood's Rowdy Red. And it is a intense flavored tomato. It is the tomato that when people come here and they're like, well, I just buy my tomatoes at Home Depot, we're like, okay, stop. Like you have to get
Look, you heathens.
on the line of heirlooms, and so we'll tell them, grow Clint Eastwood. That's all we
I need
say.
to go buy one. I
Go
didn't
grow
get it.
Clint Eastwood and you'll come back.
Right.
And so we have hooked more people on heirlooms, and then they come back the next day and like, okay, I want to try something else, But the reason that that's the best seller is because people say, I want a Clint Eastwood, and then I want da 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 da. I got to make sure I have a Clint Eastwood, and then a lot of people will say, I need a Clint Eastwood and a lollipop, and then da 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 da. So. Yeah, so Clint Eastwood it's a fantastic, it's disease resistant, it's sets tons of fruit, it's a medium red tomato that's perfectly round, so it looks like a hybrid, it acts like a hybrid, but it doesn't taste like a hybrid. And so it's a fantastic tomato.
Was it Clint Eastwood when he was mayor? Didn't he ban ice cream on the streets?
Gosh, I don't know that, but that would be
People
crazy.
drop their cones and things. Maybe that's just a rumor.
I'd never heard that before, but I also didn't spend a whole lot of time in Carmel. So, but yeah, so that's the story behind that. Any other varieties you're thinking? No? So you guys good to move to the garden?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. Just watch your step because the weeds are a little out of control.
Pick our plates or do with
Ew,
these.
no worries, JT. Hey, make sure the cameraman's following you. Hey, make sure the camera guy's following. I'm
John,
busy.
he's busy. Say, who needs the camera guy?
The card reader is not working.
Okay, gonna have to wait. Nothing I can do about it.
Hold on just a second. He's got to move the camera. Thank you.
Hey, where are you standing?
I'm gonna be right here.
These people on YouTube are going, who are these hicks doing this thing? They walk away from the camera, don't pay no attention. It's ridiculous. Are you done now?
Yes.
All right, hold on. Let me set it up.
So just, you can walk right in these beds. They're just weeds. They don't have anything growing in them. Except for my beautiful cilantro that just decided to come up there, and
That's awesome.
I'm like, sweet!
Looks very healthy and happy.
I know! And I've got it actually growing in the herb bed, but somehow it jumped. It jumped its,
too, right? Isn't it an eggplant?
No, those are sunflowers, and they're just volunteers.
Oh.
The birds carry the sunflowers everywhere, and we use sunflowers to detoxify the soil and feed the pollinators. But they're really great for pulling chemicals out of the soil. And since this land was commercially farmed for 30 years, there's lots of chemicals that got sprayed on it. And so we are, and we're organic in the garden. So obviously we're trying to use whatever things that we can to mitigate the problems that come with being organic and fixing a lot of our soil issues. So this bed, the way that we do our tomatoes is that we rotate out of our beds. At our old place, we were so small we had to rotate out every 3 years. Now we can rotate out every 10. And so our soil is getting a lot healthier that way. And why that's important is that tomatoes, number one, take a lot out of your soil. Number two, they have diseases that can live in your soil for a really long time. And if you have sandy soil like we do, we're like beach sand, you get this horrible little bug called a root knot nematode that is almost impossible to kill organically. And killing them inorganically is some of the worst chemicals you can possibly put in your soil. And so the best way to not get root knot nematodes is to rotate out of your beds at least every 3 years. Once you've got them, you have to rotate out every 10 years. And one of the things that root knot nematodes love to feed off of is almond trees. And this was an almond orchard. So for 30 plus years. So we came to a sandy property with no nutritional value in the soil whatsoever. The soil was completely dead and had root knot nematodes in it. And so we are rotating. When you look at our little bumps, the first bump doesn't count because it wasn't there when we started, but our first year of planting was the second one in. And then the next year was the third one, and the next was so we're just moving our way down here, and when we get to the end, we hop back to the beginning and start over again. So every year we're rotating out. So the way we grow our plants is called field twine or Florida weave, if you've ever heard of that. And John, can you grab me the box of field twine in the tough shed?
Yeah.
I forgot to grab that. The only reason we haven't started twining them yet is because we haven't finished this first bed, and we just started putting plants in last week. So that's why these guys look so huge. Those big giant plants that you see under the tent, and you're like, how am I supposed to stick this thing in the ground without it breaking? This is how we do it. You will notice on some of those plants, and my one that I brought out here, this is the one I'm going to be sticking in the ground. Actually doesn't look as bad as some of them, but they have like white on their leaves. That's sun scald. And the reason, thank you, they got sun scald was because we needed room in the greenhouses, so we had to move them all to the side of the garage to block the wind. And it got hot up against the garage, and so it just scalded the leaves. Doesn't hurt anything, you just cut it off and they're gonna replace their leaves and it's no big deal. So some of those in there may still have that, but also if you haven't properly hardened your plants off, and this is tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, if you pull them from a very protected warm space and you stick them out in a unprotected space, without hardening them off first by bringing them out for a couple days, then bringing them in at night, they will get sun scald, they will droop, they will look horrible. You can put a little shade cloth over them to help them to adjust to the difference that they're going through, or just harden them off first. So these guys have been hardened off. The first couple of days we stuck them out, they looked horrible, but we were getting 43-degree temperatures at night. And we're going back into mid-40s, but now they've been hardened off, so it's not going to bother them. So if you're putting new transplants out that haven't been hardened off, the little frost fabric things that we sell here work great. You can throw blankets over cages at night and then just pull them off during the day, but they just need, you know, 3-4 days of being exposed to the outdoor weather to be able to adjust to the differences. So this, one of the ways that we're changing our soil, we have completely gone no-till. And no-till is, if you are in the ground, no-till is the best thing that ever happened in the world, because the soil is so much healthier and there's so much less work to do. So what we do is, for us, you can see how much manure is sitting in these beds right here. We actually did that bed right there in December. And then it's going to sit there for 3 years before anything gets stuck in it. So this bed has had, when we put that in there in December, it was this high of just aged manure. It's not compost, it's just aged manure. We pile it up high, it goes through the rainy season and starts to sink. When it gets to the 3rd year, it looks like this. I've done nothing to this bed.
Wow.
And so nature is taking care of all of the good stuff, and all the microbes that you want to be thriving are in here. Like everything is happy, 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 sticking it in this bed. So all I did was put T-posts in the ground, run my drip line that I just move each spot, and these drips too, if you want to know more about how to get a good drip system, I'm more than happy to get into this with you. But there are so many advances in drips now, and they're so much easier to use now than they used to be, and all of this stuff disconnects, moves over, reconnects. So we don't have to destroy anything, we just keep moving it over, and all of our drip heads unscrew if they get clogged. We wash them, put them back on again. So everything is reusable over and over and over. So I dug a hole, and if you look, you can see that manure level that has completely composted now, and then underneath it is this sand. This is our native soil, and a lot of times, and this was one of the hardest things for me to get used to the thought of, normally we would lay down a bunch of compost and till it in, and we're like, but our soil needs to be rich and thick all the way down to where the plants are, which is actually not true. The plants need the rich thickness up at the top, and they pull down what they need from the top. So it actually does, it hurts your soil to till this stuff into the soil because it sets off all of the biome that's in the soil. And so it's better to just put the stuff on top and not till it. So this is a gopher cage. The company that makes these is called Diggers Gopher Getters. And this is not chicken wire. It's triple galvanized wire and it's smaller. And then it's got the galvanized sides. I have some of these are well over 15 years old. Chicken wire in a year will completely rust and break apart. And so as long as you don't completely destroy them when you're digging them up at the end of the year, they will last and last and last because they don't rust. So I dug a hole and then I stick my gopher cage in there. And if you look around, there's gopher mounds all over the place. The dog killed 9 of them during irrigation day before yesterday. So she's living the life right now. So what we do is stick the gopher cage in there, and then I'm just gonna put enough soil in here to hold it upright like that, and it's sticking up above. If you have it down below, the gophers will come in and try to go like this, and I even had one chew the tomato off right at the base. He just came up under my straw and chewed it right at the base. So you want it sticking up enough that they're going to hit that wire when they get to the top of the soil. And then this guy here, we are going to remove all of his growth up to 18 inches. And we do that so that it controls diseases. And one of the great things about growing heirlooms in the valley is that we are hot and dry. I'm gonna go with that one too. So places where they talk about, oh, you know, heirlooms have all these diseases, it's not true. If they did have diseases, Grandma wouldn't have kept planting them every year. But you have to grow them in a way that you're not letting diseases take hold. And one of those ways, because we live in an area that doesn't rain, we have the perfect way to control tomato diseases because we're dry. And most of the fungal diseases and viruses spread in humidity, and we don't have humidity here. So unless you're hitting your tomatoes with sprinklers or trying to, oh, well, it looks dusty, I need to squirt it off with a hose. Now you've raised humidity, and those spores for the fungus and different viruses are living in your soil. So if you raise the humidity and then splash that soil up onto the leaves, it just grabs a hold of it and starts moving it up the plant, which is why we want to have airflow. We want to keep the plants dry and we want to keep the air flowing through them.
So drip is better than sprinklers then?
Way better, yeah.
better.
Sprinklers is just like you're inviting disease.
Okay.
Like, yeah, so.
Is it true for all the vegetables or just more?
No, for the tomatoes, and you can't with any solanaceous crops, which are any of the nightshades, so peppers, eggplants, potatoes, they can all be susceptible to the same fungal diseases.
I see.
And so just trying to keep them dry during the summer is the best way to keep the diseases from spreading. Yeah. So this guy obviously is extremely hot bound, and it really doesn't matter because tomatoes set roots all the way up their stem. So the deeper you can plant them, the more of the stem that takes connection with the soil, they're just going to grow new roots. So when you have really tall guys like this doesn't work for us because we're using cages, but some people trench plant where they just dig a shallow trench and lay the tomato in it and then cover it up. And as long as the end of it is sticking out of the soil, don't try to straighten it up because you'll snap it off. Just it'll straighten up on its own when it goes reaching for the sun. But just leave that end sticking up, and then that whole entire stem will root and the plant will take off faster. Now again, because we're using these, we can't do that. But that's why we're wanting to plant them as deep as we can so that more of that stem is taking hold. So I'm going to, first of all, so this, because we are always fighting nematodes and because we are organic, we are always looking for what is the thing that is working. And we were doing Kodiak mustard, which is what a lot of the farmers are doing when they're pulling their almond orchards and walnut orchards out. They're planting mustard. That's why you'll see a newly pulled orchard has all this big, huge mustard growing in it. They grow it till it flowers. They chop it down and till it into the soil. And there's something in that specific mustard that kills root knot nematodes. We were doing that, but it's really hard to do when you're not using a tractor to chop it down until to till it in. And then of course we wanted to get into no-till. And so this is one of the things that's really showing that works great for root knot nematodes. And it is chopped up lobster and crab shells. And it has something in it called chitin. And chitin kills root knot nematodes. So when we're planting them, I do 2 spoonfuls, and the first one I'm going to put down where the roots are going to be, and then I'm going to use a organic fertilizer. This one here is, you have to buy it in 50-pound bags, but you can use any organic fertilizer that the first number is lower than the next 2 numbers in its list of nutrients. So this one here is, I think it's like 512-1 or something like that, but as long as the first number is lower, then you're good. So I just am putting that in. That's just going to give the roots immediate nutrients that they need. And the nice thing about organic is, unlike chemical fertilizers, you can't burn them with organic fertilizer. So you can waste money by giving them more than they need, but you're not going to burn them by using it. So I've got this guy out, and I'm going to mess up his roots so that they don't keep going around in a circle. And then I'm going to drop it in the ground, and I try to do it where my sticks are facing, almost all of our wind from spring to midsummer is coming northwest. So I try to have the stick on the side that the wind is coming from. And then I'm going to just start filling it in with soil. Get this guy to stand up a little bit. Hey John, real quick, I forgot to turn the hose on. Can you turn it on for me, the one in the middle? No, the one in the middle. Yeah, thank you. And then I'm just going to pack it down a little. And as I've gotten this in here, I notice I have a leaf that is touching the ground. How much do you want it to swing? Just enough that I can water this in. So I'm going to cut this off. And I'm going to leave a little nub. For you? Yeah, I've got it controlled over here. So that's just to hold this guy up until I get my new stick on that's taller. And then I can move the thing that's holding it up better. So I'm just going to keep filling this in. Straightening it up. And then when I get about to here, which is about halfway, I'm going to put my other sprinkling and my other handful. Fill the rest of it in. Get some of this top compost and throw it in there. And then pack it down good and tight. And in the rest of the hole. And then with the rest of my dirt, I'm going to make a well just to be able to water the plants in. So this is the only time they're going to get watered with a hose, is when I'm putting them in the ground. So I just pack this stuff up here, I get the drip out of the way, and then I just make a little well to hold the water in so I can water it in. Like so. And then these are my tags. We've actually changed the pens, but if you bought plants from us for years when we were using Sharpies, and they don't have UV, so like you put it up like that, and then like 2 weeks later you can't read the tag anymore.
Yeah.
So I got into the habit of sticking them name side down so that the sun isn't hitting them, even though now if you're wanting to use garden tags that don't fade, they're called garden markers and they're wonderful. I'm gonna do just a little bit more. And then, what did I do with mine? I thought I brought a stick out here. What are you looking for? The taller stick. Oh. I thought I brought one out here, but maybe I didn't. I was trying to throw everything together, so I may have forgotten it. So, my 4-foot sticks, this is a 2-foot stick.
So you don't use the cages here?
No.
I do not. I used to. I use them for the peppers now.
Oh, okay.
And when we put these first plants in the ground, I put cages over the top of them so I could wrap frost fabric around them because we were still in the low 40s at night. And I just left it on for a couple days and then I took it off.
So what's the reason? Like it's better with the sticks, no cages?
Or the string.
Because I'm going to show you the string.
The string is the
Yeah, we do it with the string,
okay,
and I'll explain
okay.
why that is
Okay.
a game changer, at least for us. If you're growing in a row, it's just so much
It's the
easier.
best, yeah.
So I have extras of these. I always keep the empty ones in case anybody's interested, and you guys can take one if you want. These are the fertilizer, the slow release fertilizer that we use. There's 50 spikes in a bag, and 8 spikes per tomato, 6 spikes per pepper or eggplant. Because they're slow release, I'm only going to have to feed my tomato plants one more time, and I usually do that around August. And so I just take 8 spikes. And 8. And I'm going to stick 4 in close and 4 out further.
Yeah, you can take the empty package.
Yes, if you want to pass these
I
around.
have it with me when I go to the store.
Yes. So they they used to have them everywhere. I tried to talk to Lowe's and Home Depot and tell them,
Great
like,
idea.
if you will carry them, you will never keep them on the shelf, because I tell everybody about them, but they would not, like, once they took them off the shelf, they wouldn't carry them anymore. They carry the chemical fertilizer. It's about a quarter of the price.
You like what?
Excuse me, can you please?
Thank you.
And so I actually buy these from Walmart.com online. That's the cheapest price that I've been able to find them. And I get them in like a day or two.
Great.
And sometimes you can find them at Walmart on the shelf. I just don't go to Walmart often enough. And so I'm like, and I need 12 bags to get through my season with all the stuff that we're growing. So I just do them there. So you will notice, this is how I hold my plants up. It's a piece of tie tape and a clothespin from the dollar store. And these are fantastic for holding your plants up without strangling them. And then when they get, like, the plant can just push, and once it pushes hard enough, I've already got my field twine up, and sometimes I just find these on the ground and I just collect them up at the end of the season, but by then they're in the field twine, so they're not in danger of falling over. So the only thing I'm missing here is just putting in the 4-foot stick so that I can go up a little bit higher. Okay? So then
That's all you will need.
until, well,
4 feet or
field
you
twine, the field twine is all that you need, and I'll show you
Okay.
just a second how I do that. So then you can carry a watering can around, but when you're doing a lot of plants, I'm going to water this guy in really good. And I'm going to do that probably 2 or 3 times, and mostly just because we're so sandy that our soil dries out insanely fast. If you guys were at the April sale last year and it rained from 7 in the morning till 5 at night, pouring rain at the April sale, and we didn't have standing water. So, which is really wonderful when you're running a program, but not when you're paying your irrigation bill. And so there are upsides and downsides to having really well-drained soil. So I'm going to do this one more time, and then I'll move on to...
Disappeared.
So if you have clay,
We have clay.
yeah, if you have clay, you don't water nearly as much as we do because you'll drown your plants. Our drip emitters are 2 gallon per hour, and we have them set in the hottest part of the summertime. They're coming on every other day for 45 minutes. And that's a lot of water. So if you had clay, you wouldn't want to do that much. But the best way to know when to water is get a moisture meter. They're super cheap. And just every once in a while, stick them down in your soil. It's going to tell you how wet it is. And then you can gauge, is it time for me to water or do I need to wait? So,
Yeah, at home, like we just have a little rectangle kind of thing. So how often do you water?
everybody's soil is different. That's why I'm saying get the moisture
clay.
meter.
Okay.
And that's going to help you gauge when it's time
Okay.
to water again. Because you're watering, if you watered as much as I did, you
clay
drown
for
your
us,
plants.
yeah.
Okay, so we used to do the cages. And at the end of the season, when your plant has grown all into the cage, you have to chop away at it to get the plant out of the cage and then clean all the cage up and all this stuff. Field twine at the end of the season, now mind you, our plants go up over the top of the field twine, and we'll have it up at the very top by the end of the soil, by the end of the season. We have shade screen pulled across here, and some of them will grow up through the shade screen, through the top. At the end of the season, I come through with a pair of scissors and I cut the twine, and the whole thing falls over, and I just chop them off at the bottom and drag them off. I can literally clear this whole row in about 15 minutes instead of a really long time. So that's why we love field twine. And it's called field twine because this is how farmers who are growing indeterminate tomatoes, which are the ones that get tall, they're the ones that are used for fresh eating. They grow them using this system if they're growing them in fields. So it comes just like this with these little slits in it. You just put a belt through it. This is actually a strap off of a bag. And you put it on you. And then I usually stick scissors in the hole so that I have it when I get to the end. So I will start at the end. I will tie the twine to the end, and I will, every time I go around a T-post, I wrap it. So I'll start right about here, and I'll wrap it, pull it tight, go to the next one, wrap it, pull it tight, wrap it, pull it tight. When I get to the end, I wrap it twice, and I come back, wrap it, pull it tight, and I go through. So I'm gonna have twine that's gonna look like this in between each tomato plant. And the nice thing about the box is you just walk and it goes through. And then some of these places, they have the really tall things. They run their twine through a piece of PVC pipe, and they just lift the PVC pipe up to get over the top of the thing and wrap it. So then when you get to the end, you just tie it off. And then when the plant grows taller, then you make another row and another row and another row until you get all the way to the top. And then, like I said, at the end of the season, you just cut them off and the whole thing falls over. So, any questions about this? It's also really cheap. It's like this, I dreamed for years of being able to grow tomatoes like this. So I love it. So this is the other thing we do. Tomatoes generally do not like temperatures over 90 to 95 degrees, all tomatoes. And most places in the world, most places in the United States have a season that gets up above that. And if they have high humidity, it feels even hotter, and the plants are struggling with disease because of the high humidity. So what we have found, because we get up in the 100+ temperatures for very long periods of time, is that if we don't put shade screen over our tomatoes, then the way that they handle extreme heat is they drop all their blossoms. And of course, it for us really hard when it drops their blossoms in July, because July fruit is August tomato tasting fruit. And so like last year we had this beautiful long spring. They set tons of tomatoes. We had like tomatoes coming out of our ears until around late June, early July. And then I will never forget that the first Saturday in July was 113 degrees. And we'd already had multiple 100 degrees. And the only reason I remember that first Saturday was 113 is because we had an outdoor wedding to go to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was miserable. But it also was the worst possible time to have that stretch of a really hot weather. And we were coming outside even with shade screen and blossoms were all over the ground. But if we hadn't had shade screen in that temperature, a lot of the plants would not have bounced back as soon as it was over and immediately started setting fruit again. So it's just the plant's way of trying to save itself so that it can set fruit later, is to just get the blossoms off of there so that it's not having to feed the fruit. So the way we do shade screen on our T-post, this is about as oaky thick as you're gonna get, and we do oaky thick here all the time, is we take a 1.5 inch T, PVC T, we put it on top. We take a 1/2 inch piece of Schedule 40 PVC, and Schedule 40, all that means is it's the thick stuff. So it's not that really thin, brittle stuff. And this is a 3-foot length. You can do whatever length you want, but we actually these guys do double duty. So in the summertime, they're holding our shade screens, and in the wintertime, if you look out at our citrus trees, they're over rebar in the ground, and we throw, there's a big pile of them out there, mattress covers over our citrus trees to keep the freeze from killing them.
Oh.
So at the end of the season, we just go pull them all off the rebar and run them through here. So then we take, you could use nylons or a piece of fabric or whatever works for you, but we use tie tape because we have a lot of it, and you need something that's got some stretch to it. And get that straight, try to put it in the middle. And then we just kind of do one of these things. And then wrap it around and tie it. And that just keeps this thing from sliding. And then I'm gonna go ahead and tie it light just so that it doesn't move. So then we use garden clips, which are these guys. They only work on 1/2 inch PVC, and I get them online. If anybody wants to take pictures of this, they can, but it says that it's for 1/2 inch PVC. So we run our fabric across it, and we use 30% shade fabric, and that is not the same as the fabric you use for Shade for You. Like the fabric that we have over by the tomatoes right now that's blocking the sun on the tables is a 70%. Usually for humans, we're at 70-80% for us to be comfortable. These guys just need a 30%, and 70-80% is blocking an awful lot of sun that they need to be able to produce. So we get our shade fabric from a place called Greenhouse Megastore, and you buy it by the foot. And so we order it in large quantities, and we order it in 12-foot widths. Then we cut them in half. So we have 6-foot widths on a 3-foot piece of PVC, so we have a couple of feet hanging over on each side, and it's not attached to anything. It just blows in the wind and whatnot. And then we just string it all the way across here. If you come to the tomato tasting, you'll be able to see all of our tomatoes are covered in the shade screen, and some of them are actually starting to grow up through it. And I've had that fabric for 5 years now, and it's still, like, I rip those tomatoes out of the fabric and it holds up really well. And it's super inexpensive. Like, it's totally worth it to do it. We've started also doing it with the peppers for sweet peppers, because bell peppers don't like our valley heat. And if you've ever wondered, like, how is it that we're growing all these California bell peppers and they're beautiful, but I can't grow any, it's because they're growing them on the coastal side of the mountain range. They're not growing them here in the valley, and they just don't like the heat. And so if you cover them with shade, they produce way better. But you don't want to cover your hot peppers because they will take the challenge. And they're like 113 degrees, I laugh at that. And so they like the heat and the sun. But the bell peppers and the tomatoes just need some shade screen. So these little guys, once you run your fabric across there, you just put this on top and snap it down, and it holds the fabric in. The wind can blow it super hard, and they won't come off. So they're super helpful, and they last forever unless you have a husband who likes to run over them with a line trimmer when they're out in the orchard, so that then they get kind of chopped up. But they last for a really long time. So that's basically how we grow them and how we maintain them. And when you come to the tomato tasting, you will not be able to see the twine. It will be buried by growth. But you'll know, how are those tomatoes standing up underneath all of that stuff? Because they are really heavy, and it's because the twine is holding them in place. Any questions? I know it's a lot of information.
Yeah.
But then we can rewatch the video at home, right?
Yes,
For
you
our
can.
refresher.
We will post it. I'm not entirely sure that I'm still in the screen because I stood up.
Oh, you are.
I see you.
Am I? Okay.
Yeah.
You're fine.
And I was also going to mention too that something that we're trying to keep in mind and tell people all the time. If you're going organic, and this is a perfect example, like when you come back in August, all of these weeds will be gone, hopefully. But if you can remember, cover it in life, cover it in death, or it'll be covered in weeds. So life is plants that will choke out the weeds. Death is like mulch, straw mulch, or this black mulch that we put down. Anything that will block out the sun for plants. So we have all of this straw, and I will be coming through here as soon as I get all of these guys buried, and all of this straw will go up here, and then I'll actually put more. So that we've got these big mounds of straw. So because the straw is not alive, it's considered the death. Anything that you're using to cover up and block weeds, every place that you see where there are weeds growing are the places where they didn't get covered with life, or they didn't get covered with death. And then this stuff is wheat. And so if you're looking at it, you're like, that looks like wheat. It's because we're using wheat straw. So there's always a little bit of grain in straw when you use it. And so the wheat will come up. And so what I do, if you see here, when I went to clear out this bed, I just pull them out, shake off the dirt, and throw them on the ground, and now I've got more straw. And it's best to do it before the wheat sets heads, because then you're not having more. But all of this stuff will compost down, and by the time this bed gets planted in again, this straw will be so broken down it'll just look like compost. So it doesn't need to be moved somewhere or anything. It's just protecting the soil, keeping the temperatures cooler, keeping water from splashing up onto your plants and spreading disease, and helping you to not lose moisture when you're watering, so that it's also saving water, which if you're on meters, we're not. But if you're on meters in town, I feel sorry for you, and I'm sorry. But you want to not use water that you have to pay for every gallon for. So it helps cut that way down. One caveat, if you did not hear my garden talk at the tomato tasting, I will tell you we've not been hit with this yet, but there is a herbicide that is now being used quite a bit called Grazon, and that's actually a name brand. The product is under different names, but most people know it as Grazon. It is being used in places where they're growing grassy crops, and they're wanting to kill everything except the grassy crop. So grass hay, wheat, oats, They can spray their crops with this, and the crops do not have to fight the weeds that try to take over. And from what they're saying, it is safe for animals to consume it. So like our hay it's a lot safer for them to consume this chemical than it is for other chemicals that they have used in the past. So eventually this stuff is gonna, like, we have not gotten it yet. And we're trying our best to find out like where we're getting stuff, are they using it? But if it gets into your soil, it can be in your soil for up to 10 years. And it will kill all broadleaf plants, including tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, all the brassicas, cauliflower, broccoli, all of these things. Like it pretty much kills anything except grass. And so we are seeing more and more in our garden sites, people are posting pictures of their tomato plant that's like shriveling up, and they're like, what's wrong with my plant? And the first thought, I mean, it could be other stuff, but you're like, you probably have grazon in your soil. And there's no way to know whether it's in there. It's going to be in the compost. It's going to be like in pretty much any fertilizer that's being made with compost. And it's also now being used in turf builder type products where you put it on your lawn to feed your lawn, but it also kills all the broadleaf stuff in your lawn. So if you're trying to put grass clippings in your compost pile, or you're trying to put them in your beds, it's also going to be getting in there. For us, the straw is a problem because the wheat could have been sprayed with it. Also, our manure, because we feed grass hay, could have it in it, and composting doesn't make it go away. So that's one of the reasons that we're also trying to be really proactive with the sunflowers, following up with sunflowers, because if it is getting into our soil, the sunflowers will help pull it out of the soil and get rid of it. We have one friend that is using mushrooms that were apparently found to be growing near Chernobyl. And so they did tests on it and found out like this mushroom is pulling the toxins out of the soil at Chernobyl. And so now some of the organic farmers are starting to use these mushrooms in their soil to pull the stuff out. So we're trying to find a way to mitigate it. But apart from having it become illegal in the state of California, like there's no way for us to stop it. So just be aware of it. Like there's a possibility that you could get it in your soil and then you're going to be dealing with it. And there's really no way currently to know that it's in there. So. Okay?
Thank you.
You are welcome. You guys have a great rest of your day. If you haven't petted ponies yet, you should really do it. It makes life happy.
Do you use?
Do what? YouTube, yes. We have a YouTube channel, and it is linked on our website. And so as soon as he edits this and puts it up, then you can view it. And all of our other garden talks are on our YouTube channel.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.